Yeah, hello, good morning to everyone there. Uh, Welcome to the inaugural session of Nerdy Scientists, our new YouTube channel, which actually aims at promoting free education, new knowledge, new research, studies, and all over the world is happening all over the world. And we are here with our first video for you all. And Our first video, we actually thought of various aspects, various studies, but we actually are very much interested in explaining the most heinous disease, the heinous disorders which are actually affecting the whole world. And for that instance, let's talk about the COVID 19, which is actually prevalent now and it's the burning topic all over the world. And about COVID 19, if you actually understand things, it's a kind of a virus, and we are all scientists are actually fighting and competing to produce a vaccine, and the whole world is waiting for a vaccine for COVID 19, and which actually has actually infected around million or 2 3 million of people right now. But people don't know that actually many people don't know that there are various kind of more dangerous disorders which are actually we are living with, and the number one out of it is cancer. Cancer is it's a very very dangerous disease. It has actually crossed a billion or 2 billion of people have been infected all over the world. If you see the records of WHO, it actually states 2.2 billion people across the world have been infected already, and there are few instances and cases which are actually not yet detected, and we don't know what type of cancer is that, and it's the only disorder which has 100 types in it and more than 100 types in it. So new types of cancers are being produced, they are being studied, and there's a lot of research going on, and it has become a very very crucial aspect to be investigated and experimented all over the world. And we have various kinds of cancer research institutes which are being built to actually do research, and governments are funding millions and billions of rupees and dollars and what kind of currency it is. uh, there's a lot of funding going on all over the world for this cancer, and there are masters and PhD programs happening, and people are interested in working more on cancer. So that's the actual point uh, of the reason behind why we have chosen this topic of cancer biology and cancer research, and how this cancer biology is so prevalent, and how is it actually important to a scientist or to an enthusiast of a person who is interested in learning about science, how important and valuable it is to every person who is interested in science to understand cancer in a deeper way. So let's move forward. Let's start off with the list of contents. What are the basic questions which actually come into our mind when we actually think about cancer? What is cancer? These are all very basic questions which every person knows. We will discuss about it initially, but let's talk about the wider aspects. There are a few wider aspects and objectives which we need to understand. The biochemical alterations in cancer cells, what are proto-oncogenes, explain the mechanisms, how these mechanisms, how they actually help in activating the cancer producing oncogenes, the list of tumor suppressor genes, and the mechanisms of action of the P53 gene. What is P53 gene? Some of them also don't know that. So we are going to discuss it in a deeper way in this video, and we also like to discuss about cyclins and kinases, which is actually related to the cell cycle progression and the progression of every cell. There's a cell cycle, the normal cell cycle which happens in the human body, and what are the functions of cyclins. We will also discuss about the anti-metabolites if possible, and most importantly the tumor markers, which actually is very much important in diagnosis of various types of cancers. And then we will classify these kind of tumor markers and mention their use. So these are the few objectives which we actually thought of, making you all understand, in a better way, summarizing all these things in one video. So let's go. So, what is cancer? People have various kind of definitions to it: abnormal growth, uncontrolled cell division. It actually comes from a Latin word known as cancrum. It means crab. So you have a sign also, uh, crab, and many research institutes are using this symbol for cancer research institutes, and that's actually very much popular worldwide. So it is actually characterized by uncontrolled cell division, and this actually leads to growth of abnormal tissue or tumor. So this tumor is being caused due to the uncontrolled cell division. We will see a few photographs which actually help you to understand in a very better way and a more clear manner. Now, talking about oncology, what is oncology? It is a branch of medicine which deals with etiology, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of cancer. It comes from a Greek word known as onco, meaning tumor. So, this is a branch, it talks about the branch of medicine. Now, how these tumor cells grow, this is very much important to understand. This is the first picture you're seeing from a brain tumor cell. So you could see the invasion, this red color marked thing which is actually invading the whole tumor cell. The whole tumor cell is actually invading the normal cells in the brain. That is how the invasion starts. And then in the final stage, this tumor cell, what you're seeing here, I'm going to zoom that. This is the maximum way we'll actually zoom. So you could see the tumor, it's being pointed there. This is the tumor which is actually suppressing the normal cells there in the brain, and you could see it clearly that this is the major aspect which we actually have to discuss. This is the suppression which is happening by the tumor cell of the normal cells that are present around it, and this is the way in which they increase the pressure inside the brain, and finally all the normal cells get invaded and all the normal cells will turn into tumor cells, and finally, boom, the complete brain gets non-functionalized, and finally the patient will be called brain dead, and you don't know what's happening inside till the final stage comes in. So this is how dangerous cancer can prove to a patient, and it's very much important to know the actual essentiality of understanding these concepts. So we are going to have more new slides which are coming now and which are very much essential in understanding the basic terms and possibilities of cancer. So this graph, which is a study of which actually happened in a Nature journal, I took it from that. This is a graph, a study of cancer, various types of cancers based upon the gender. You could see women are having different kind of cancers, men are having different kind of cancers, and the most prevalent out of these two genders is the percentage. You could actually tell, lung cancer and bronchi. The lung and bronchi are the most targeted site for tumor cells, and there are a lot of reasons for that. There are few things which are actually airborne. There are few contaminations like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons which are actually prevalent in our environment, in the atmosphere itself, and we actually inhale it. We don't know what is that. So the PAH contaminations are one of the carcinogens which are actually causing, or it's the major cause for the lung cancer to happen, to occur. So women and men, both of them, it's most prevalent, and you have breast cancer in women. And the most interesting aspect you have to see here is the colon and rectum cancer. This was actually a very rare disorder. From past few years, it has started increasing deliberately, and it is becoming more prevalent right now. And recently, the news we have seen that very popular star, Mr. Irfan Khan, died due to this colon cancer. It was very rare, and the doctors could not help him. After fighting for 2 years, he died because of this colon infection, which actually caused due to this colon and rectum cancer. So you could see how dangerous, how heinous it is to actually affect wider organs. The colon is considered to be a rare thing, and we don't have treatment to it. The exact treatment and therapy is not yet discovered for colon and rectum cancer. It's still under work. The various vaccines which are being created but not yet actually working. perfectly. So there is non-Hodgkin lymphoma, which is also increasing day by day. The cases are increasing, and it has come to 4% in women, and it's 3% in men. So the various organs, brain, liver, uterine corpus, leukemia, pancreas, um, and all other sites, the various other sites are actually there in the body, which are actually causing cancer. So this is a small study, a small survey of few cancer patients about how this cancer is affecting these patients and how relevant the major sites are. So this is a few recent study things which you actually understood right now, and then we are going to the cell proliferation. This is a very important aspect which we need to understand very clearly before we get into the major aspects. So the cell multiplication or the cell proliferation is a normal physiological process. It happens. There are many instances why it happens. It may be due to the response to injury, it may be due to immune responses, it may be due to replacement of cells which are dead, to replace cells which have been shed as a part of the life cycle. So the balance of this, once it gets imbalanced, once the cell multiplication stops suddenly or abruptly starts increasing or decreasing, this imbalance would lead to cancer. So cell proliferation plays a major role in initiation of tumor or cancer cells growth in human body. That's very much important to understand, so keep it in mind. Now coming to the types of tumors, there are two types. Majorly there are two types. There are various kind of classifications. We'll go through few, but this is the major type of classification for cancer which you need to understand. The uncontrolled and rapid proliferation of cells can lead to either benign tumor or malignant tumor. Benign tumors do not spread or invade other parts of tissues or body, and they are rarely a threat to life. They're very rare. They're very rare to happen, and they do not spread or invade other parts of tissues. They're normal. They're normal tumors. There are good tumors also. So some of the good tumor cells grow through this type. This is benign tumor. Malignant, it invades other organs. It spread to distant locations and becomes life-threatening. This is the major kind of tumor where all kind of dangerous types of cancers grow through this mechanism. Malignant tumors are the major type of tumors which actually cause invasion to other organs and distant locations, from a brain to heart, from heart to kidney. It actually spreads wider scope, and that process is known as metastasis. Very important definition, guys. The spread to distant locations by tumor cells is known as metastasis, and this malignant tumors is life threatening. So please note the point. Then, so what is the origin of cancer? How can the cancer be caused? There are various aspects. This is a very crucial point of concern to all the researchers all over the world, that how is this being caused? These are a few things which we have listed down here, some of the factors which are actually causing cancer, but you can't actually say in the patients through analyzing the report of a cancer patient that what has actually caused cancer in the patient. So it's a very crucial part, and if you can actually detect the origin of the cancer for every patient possible, if you could actually develop a mechanism or a methodology which could actually help in detecting the exact origin of cancer for every patient who's suffering with different types of cancer, then it is a success. It's a new success which you could actually create, and in the field of cancer research. And these are few multifactorial things in origin you need to understand. There's physical origin, chemically through chemicals, biological, viruses. So we'll discuss about it, very much interesting. Environmental factors. There are a few physical and chemical reactions which are actually leading to these environmental factors. And then hormonal changes or the hormones themselves. Genetic things, mutations. Genetic mutations are the major cause, the most prevalent cause for any cancer. It could be hereditary also. So genetic and mutations are major causes of cancer, which we need to understand. And then now physical agents. What are the physical agents generally which actually cause cancers? X-rays, gamma rays, and UV rays. These are three kind of physical agents which have been reported till date, that they are actually are the few physical agents which are actually causing cancer, or which leading to the originating of cancer. So then chemicals, there are a lot of chemicals. We could actually try to discuss about few. Asbestos, aflatoxins synthesized from the fungi, namely Aspergillus flavus, aniline dye, nitroso compounds, coloring agents. The coloring agents are very much prevalent. Benzopyrene, benzopyrene is very prevalent. In many patients, we actually observed that benzopyrene accumulation could actually result or develop or help in development of tumor cells. And then polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, as we discussed it, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are very dangerous carcinogens, which are actually causing carcinogens, the cancer cells in the lungs, and the lungs are being affected wider scale due to polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And what could actually cause this? What lifestyle of people could cause these chemicals to be getting into our body? Tobacco chewing, smoking, alcohol consumption. These three are very prevalent, very common. Most of the alcohol consuming people are actually being affected by types of various types of cancers in their later stages of life, and tobacco chewing and smoking is also leading to different types of cancers. So then, initiation and promotion in carcinogenesis. Initiation and promotion carcinogenesis. What is initiation initially? Once we have to understand initially, what is initiation? So initiation is the creation by genotoxic carcinogens of a cell with abnormal DNA. So after initiation, promoters stimulate the replication of these neoplastic cells and facilitate the development of tumor. So you could see initiation and promotion in these two aspects. You create this kind of initiation happens due to genotoxic changes in a cell with abnormal DNA, and after the post initiation point, promoters start coming into the role and they start replicating, and then out of these neoplastic cells they facilitate development of tumor. So this is the stage in which the cancer cells actually start growing. So initiation and promotion carcinogenesis. So the first factor is skin tumor in mice. Benzopyrene alone cannot cause tumor. So we have discussed few chemicals before in the before slide. We could actually explain about various kind of chemicals, and if there is a combination of benzopyrene with other chemical which is actually leading to cancer, could cause tumor growth or a tumor initiation. Without any other chemical, alone benzopyrene is acting, and that doesn't mean that tumor cells are growing in your body. These are few reports and we are not sure about it. We can't confirm that this is the only possibility. It can actually cause cancer in various situations. It is one of the reports which is actually proving that benzopyrene alone cannot cause tumor. Benzopyrene followed by several applications of croton oil many tumors develop. They can make many tumors develop. So what are few applications of croton oil alone? Now see, croton oil, we have used it in combination with benzopyrene. It caused various kind of tumors, but alone croton oil cannot cause tumor. So you could see how important recombinations are in chemicals. So the recombinations in chemicals are very important in producing cancer cells. So applications. Now talking about initiation and promotion, croton oil is acting in a very slow way. Benzopyrene is very rapid and irreversible. So there are few divisions you could see in the functions of two things which are discussed. It's a case study on benzopyrene and croton oil, and you could see that benzopyrene is rapid and irreversible modification of DNA is actually helping in these two things. It's very rapid Irreversible modification of DNA can happen through benzopyrin, but croton oil, it's a very slow process. Only if you can combine these two chemicals, you could actually produce a cancer cell. If you use it alone, tumor cells may not grow. So most carcinogens, we could actually summarize and say that most carcinogens can cause initiation and promotion. So what is mutation? There are sudden changes in chemical structure of the DNA. If there's a change in the amino acid chains in the DNA, the base pairs get changed. These are all caused due to the aberrations in the chemical structure. So this substance which causes this mutation is known as mutagen. So mutagens are those which are actually causing this change in the structure of DNA. This is called mutation. Examples are X-rays, gamma rays and UV rays. So now talking about the examples, X-rays and gamma rays and UV rays. So now we are getting into the most interesting aspect. We actually understood about various basic things which actually are leading to cancer, and now we are going to discuss about the oncogenic virus, which is the most important, and it is actually related to the burning topic COVID-19. So we will discuss about it. Let's start. Viruses which cause cancer are known as oncogenic virus. So they can integrate the gene into the host DNA and take over the entire regulatory mechanism of the host cell. I'm again repeating it, entire regulatory mechanism of the host cell. The host cell will produce viral genome instead of host genome. See how transformation is occurring when they're actually integrating into the gene, into the host DNA. This integration of this oncogenic virus is actually taking control of the whole regulatory mechanism of the host cell and is transforming the complete genome. It is actually producing viral genome, and then there is no stopping. Cells start growing, multiplication of host cells happen. There will be complete transformation of the cells into the tumor cells, and then what happens is the cancer cells grow in a wider scale, and it causes dysfunction of various kind of organ systems. So oncogenic virus is so dangerous, guys. This is very, very important. Please note that. These are the few examples of the oncogenic virus which are prevalent now and has caused various kind of disorders in various patients. The first one is Epstein-Barr virus. It actually caused Burkitt's lymphoma, which is very, very, very prevalent, in the northern side of America. Burkitt's lymphoma is causing various kind of problems, side effects. The treatments like radiotherapy and chemotherapy are causing various kind of side effects when we are treating this kind of lymphoma or the type of cancer, and this virus is actually causing Burkitt's lymphoma. And then human papilloma virus, it's actually causing uterine cervical. And then hepatitis B virus, very, very, very common virus. It's also an oncogenic virus. It is actually causing hepatoma. So these are the few examples of viruses. Now, how does COVID come here? COVID-19 is another type of virus which is actually infecting RNA. Right now the cases are saying that it is actually infecting RNA. In few years, we'll get to understand, we'll get vaccines, we'll get some drugs which are actually helping in preventing this virus. And further research, according to my understanding, further research may prove that COVID-19 could add on to the list of oncogenic virus. So guys, it can actually help in tumor cell growth, and that's what may happen in the future revalences, future studies. So I have been going through a few papers. I have published for 25 publications in international journals. So on this cancer studies, I have worked for around 6 to 7 years. So according to my experience, I could see that COVID-19 is proving to be a kind of oncogenic virus in future, and it could be added upon this list of oncogenic viruses, and it may lead to a different level of infection in cancer, and it could rapidly increase the growth of tumor cells in our bodies. And To prove this, I'm going to give you few studies, recent studies, what scientists have said in the last slides. So we'll get to that. Let's continue with our topic of cancer biology. Now, oncogenes. Genes which can cause cancer are known as oncogenes. So it's very obvious. So there are proto-oncogenes here. Oncogenes are also present in normal cells, and in normal cells they are known as proto-oncogenes. We have more than 100 proto-oncogenes on various chromosomes. There are various kind of 100 types of proto-oncogenes which are actually situated in various chromosomes. Now, for example, if you take RAS gene, a very common gene, it is actually a part of sarcoma virus, is actually causing sarcoma virus. And CMYC, the MYC gene, it's also a proto-oncogene which is actually prevalently seen in avian myelocytoma virus. So this avian virus is actually prevalent in various studies. You could actually see various examples, and c-MYC is one of the most important gene which is actually causing avian myelocytoma virus. So most of these proto-oncogenes are pretty normal and don't lead to cancer growth, but they are prevalent in normal cells. Now let's discuss furthermore. So what are the functions of these oncogenes initially? Products of these oncogenes are involved in regulation of cell cycle. These products may be growth regulating factor or receptor. These oncogenes are under the control of regulator genes and expressed only when required. Only whenever it is required, there is expression. If there is abnormal expression, then starts the problem, then starts the growth of tumors, then starts therapy. So there are various ways when we go to talk about these abnormalities or aberrations or deviations from these functions may lead to dangerous oncogenes, transformation of normal oncogenes to dangerous oncogenes. Virus can carry these genes and transmit it into the individual. So virus is playing a major role in transmitting these genes into the individuals. So activation of proto-oncogenes, this is very important, guys. There are few kind of methodologies which can actually cause activation of proto-oncogenes to oncogenes. So what are these? The first one is promoter insertion. So what is it actually called? Promoter insertion is tumor promoters. It actually deals with tumor promoters. So these are the substances that accelerate cell turnover, so that genetically damaged cells multiply more rapidly and have greater likelihood of acquiring additional mutations needed for malignant transformation. And then comes the enhancer insertion, the second part. The second cause or second methodology, for instance, an enhancer is a short region with around 50 to 100 base pairs part of region, and this kind of region of DNA can be bound by proteins to increase the likelihood that transcription of a particular gene will occur. These proteins are usually referred to as transcription factors. So these transcription factors are nothing but these enhancer proteins which are actually leading to transcription of a particular gene. So this is enhancer insertions. And then comes gene amplification. Gene amplification is an increase in the number of copies of a gene without a proportional increase in other genes. So there is no proportional increase. There is no similarity in the rate of increase. There is number of copies of genes which are being produced in a wider scale, and that is known as gene amplification, and this can result from duplication of a region of DNA that contains a gene through errors in DNA of replication and repair machines, as well as through fortuitous capture by selfish genetic elements. So gene amplification is a very wider topic to discuss. This is some of the definitions which I have covered in this factor methodology. And then comes chromosomal translocations. Chromosomal translocations, there are two types of cancers which are being caused: chronic myeloid leukemia and Burkitt's lymphoma, which is caused due to this chromosomal aberrations like Philadelphia chromosome, chromosome 9 ABL and 22 BCR. Reciprocal translocations occur, and this will lead to chronic myeloid leukemia. So, Burkitt lymphoma. Burkitt lymphoma is caused by chromosome 8 and 14. So, there are a few chromosomes. Due to the translocation of these two chromosomes, it is leading to the cause of Burkitt's lymphoma. And point mutations, we know it, like only one or few nucleotides undergo change or mutation in a gene sequence, and then that leads to point mutation. So, now the next slide. What is anti-oncogenes or oncosuppressor genes? What is this actually known as? This is nothing but oncosuppressor genes, which are actually preventing tumor cell growth, and these are actually present in our body and we don't know that. That's a very, very crucial part to discuss in this aspect. So this oncosuppressor gene, there are a few examples what I could actually take in this presentation. The first and most important part is P53 gene. P53 gene is causing breast cancer, colon cancer in a wider scale. It's actually preventing these kind of cancers. P53 gene is an anti-oncogene which could actually help in preventing breast cancer and colon cancer. But if there is a mutation of this gene, then it can actually reverse that. It could actually cause that cancer. You could see the difference. It's very, very important and crucial to understand. The breast cancer gene 1, breast cancer gene 2, reticuloblastoma genes are actually helping in preventing breast cancer, retinoblastoma in children, but due to the mutation of a gene, it could turn and actually cause these cancers. And WT, it's Wilms tumor, it's causing Wilms tumor. So then, this is a very, very common type of cell cycle which we all know, and this is mammalian cell cycle. G0 is a phase where there are inactive cells or quiescent cells, and they turn into G1 phase. From G1 phase, in G1 phase you could see there is rapid growth rate and preparation for DNA synthesis. And then there is S phase where the proper DNA synthesis and histone synthesis occurs. And then in G2 phase you could see the growth and preparation for cell division. The cell division occurs in a wider scale in G2 phase. And the M phase you could see mitosis occurring. So mitosis occurs in the M phase of the cell cycle. So this is a normal cell cycle that we all know about this normal cell cycle, and we'll get to know more how this cancer is related to this cell cycle and what is actually these cell cycles are, the cancer cells are causing this cancer cell cycle. So we were discussing about the mammalian cell cycle, how it actually works in the normal mammalian cells, the human cells, and what is the function of each and every phase. And now we are going to discuss few crucial genes and how it acts. In the next few slides we will be going more deeper, friends, about the cancer biology, and I hope that you all concentrate on the topics which are being discussed further. So P53 tumor suppressor gene, it is having a molecular weight of 53 kilodaltons, and it is a nuclear phosphoprotein, very, very unstable. It can activate DNA repair proteins when DNA has sustained damage. It can arrest growth by holding the cell cycle at G1 and S regulation point on DNA damage recognition. It can also initiate apoptosis, which means cell death. So you could see how important and crucial this P53 tumor suppressor gene is. So it could actually produce a cell cycle arrest in between G1 and S phase. Now coming to the cyclins and kinases, which are very much important in cell cycle progression and regulation of cell cycle. Cyclins, there are various types of cell cyclins, A, B, E and D. For instance, you could take few combinations of kinases which are actually present in the form of CDK4 and CDK6 in cyclin D, where there is progression post G1S boundary, where in the boundary line of G1 phase and S phase there is progression of cells which occur due to CDK4 and CDK6, and then cyclin E and A in combination produce cyclin kinase 2, which initiates DNA synthesis in early S phase. And then in cyclin B there is CDK1, which is actually helping in progression from G2 phase to M phase. So very important cyclin kinases which we need to understand and remember. So coming to the next one, anti-oncogenes, which are actually known as oncosuppressor genes. These genes prevent cancer or the progression or the tumor cell growth. So those genes which actually prevent this cancer cells growth are known as oncogenes or oncosuppressor genes. So the products of these genes act as brakes and regulate the cell proliferation. They actually act as brakes. They're very much important and play a vital role in preventing the cancer cell growth in every human body. So when these genes are deleted or mutated, then it leads to cancer. So when mutation occurs, friends, this can become completely anti and it may lead to causing cancer itself. So see how complicated this cancer cell formation is. It can the actual agent which is actually preventing cancer can get reversed due to the mutation and cause cancer by itself. So it could be very dangerous in those aspects. Now what is the function of telomerase and what is its role in cancer? It is very much active in cancer cells, most importantly, and it is proliferating in normal cells. So it is an RNA primer at 5' end, and it's a newly synthesized strands cannot be replaced with DNA. Shortening of the ends of chromosomes at each replication with loss of important genes. The main function, guys, shortening of the ends of chromosomes at each replication occurs due to telomerase, and this is present in the sequence of TTA GGG repeats at the 3' ends. In more than 100 or more arrays, the telomeres are present in the same sequence. And then coming to genomic stability, the genomic stability in germ cell lines is actually maintained by telomerase, which is very important and crucial role in this cancer cell mechanism or the normal cell mechanism. So what are the ideal characteristics of cancer cells? You have actually learned a lot in the previous parts of slides you could see, and now you could actually understand it very easily, all these points without any explanation. So point 1, uncontrolled proliferation. Point 2, abnormal nucleus. Point 3, loss of anchorage or support. And then disorganized multilayer, completely disorganized, very random. Then it forms tumor, undergoes metastasis and angiogenesis. Lack of differentiation into specialized cell. There is no differentiation at all look similar. Increased rate of anaerobic glycolysis. Very crucial characteristics of cancer cell. Through these characteristics you can actually understand how cancer cell looks and how dangerous it can be in future. And then cancer cells, its biochemical changes, very crucial important biochemical changes, guys. The first one is the rapid synthesis of DNA and RNA. Second one is the rapid rate of increase in aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis to meet the increased demand for energy for more cells. There is actually a wide demand increase in the energy levels when you actually have cancer cells growing in your body, and the rate of anaerobic glycolysis tremendously increases. It goes on to a wider range which you never can expect. Your body will be like burning inside and you don't know. That is what cancer can do to a body. And then comparison with normal cell and cancer cell. Very important comparative table. You could see in the normal cell there is controlled cell proliferation. In cancer cell, there is completely uncontrolled cell proliferation, as I said before. There is contact inhibition in normal cell, there is cell death happening in normal cell, there is no cell death happening, there is no contact inhibition. Normal nucleus, abnormal nucleus, organized, completely disorganized, multi-layer systems, differentiated cells, non-differentiated cells, metastasis and angiogenesis occurring. So metastasis, what is metastasis? Metastasis is something which is happening, which is transferring the cancer cells from one organ to another, is metastasis. Angiogenesis is something, the same kind of thing is happening in blood vessels. When it is happening in blood vessels, you call it as angiogenesis. So next, apoptosis, they don't undergo apoptosis. And then telomerase activity stops after about 50 cell cycles. After 50 cell cycles, there is no telomerase activity happening in normal cell. But in cancer cell, guys, there is increased and persistent telomerase activity happening. Very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And then the normal cancer treatments, which are actually very, very, very commonly used and frequently used. The three kind of therapies. The first one is surgery, which actually is actually used for removal of cancer tissues. And then radiotherapy. It helps in destruction of cancer cells using radioactive rays. And then it is chemotherapy, which is killing cancer cells using drugs. This chemotherapy is having a lot of side effects. In fact, it is actually leading to cause of death of patients. The side effects which are actually being caused due to chemotherapy is actually leading to death of various cancer patients due to various causes. So this kind of cases of deaths are not recorded under cancer. I mean under the cancer deaths according to WHO, but the side effects which are being caused with chemotherapy is on a wider scale is leading to deaths of various patients. So next is the anti-metabolites or the anti-cancer drugs, the standard anti-cancer drugs which are being used. They have various mechanisms of actions. You could see methotrexate is inhibiting the dihydrofolate reductase. Its mechanism of action is inhibiting it and preventing the tumor cell growth. And then 6-mercaptopurine, which is a purine analog, which is inhibiting the formation of AMP. And 6-thioguanine inhibits thymidylate synthesis. Mitomycin C linking DNA base pairs. Actinomycin D inhibits transcription. So you could see like that there are various anti-cancer drugs being discovered with different kind of mechanisms of actions, and basing on what kind of cancer you want to treat, you can actually select which anti-cancer drug for the therapy of cancer. So very, very important antimetabolites which are being rapidly used in cancer therapy in various cancer research hospitals or cancer research institutes, and there's further research which is going on this main important topic of antimetabolites. And then cancer prevention. So guys, here I would like to say that the natural resource is very, very crucial in preventing cancer. It is proving vital because this is an example. Antioxidants are completely natural. This is a natural resource. Vitamin A, E, C, vegetables and fruits, they are all present in our body. They can detoxify carcinogens, guys. So detoxifying of carcinogens is happening only with the help of antioxidants. So it plays a very major role. It also is available in vegetables and fruits. In future, if we could actually do further research on antioxidants in combining various kind of technologies with the antioxidants like nanomedicine, which is the future, we could actually help in producing a complete new methodology in cancer therapy. So next, what are the ideal tumor markers? First of all, what is a tumor marker? Tumor marker is something which helps in diagnosis of cancer. It should be produced in a cancer cell initially, which is actually helping us in identifying and diagnosing the tumor growth in any kind of cancer. So the ideal characteristics must be produced by the tumor cell, should not be present in normal or healthy or benign condition, must be detectable in body fluids. It could be used for screening the presence of cancer in asymptomatic patients. So there are various criteria which are very much important for diagnostic marker or a tumor marker. It should be highly specific, highly sensitive, able to differentiate between neoplastic and non-neoplastic diseases. Increase in level should precede neoplastic process. Very, very important. The fourth one, there should be a rapid level of increase should precede the neoplastic process. So next, what are the uses? You know that diagnosis, prognosis, pre-treatment, localization, targeting, monitoring the treatment. You can regulate the treatment and control the cancer therapy. The next one is the tumor marker classification. There are various groups of tumor markers, there are various types of tumor markers. Some are natural, most of them are natural. You could see there are enzymes, hormones, proteins, oncofetal antigen, genes, carbohydrate antigens, blood group antigens, receptors. They are all different types of tumor markers which are actually helping in diagnosis, prognosis of cancer. The next one, the first type, oncofetal antigens. Oncofetal antigens are proteins produced during fetal life. That means during the infant stage, when you are in the mother's womb, there is oncofetal antigens produced, and they are present in higher concentration during fetal life, and they get decreased to low concentration and disappears after birth. So this protein will reappear in cancer patients when you actually get diagnosed with cancer, when you're undergoing cancer therapy. This same oncofetal protein antigen, which is actually been there when you were inside the womb of your mother, it actually comes back in other forms like alpha fetoprotein, that is AFP, which is actually in short form it is called as AFP, and then there's another form for it, carcinoembryonic antigen. These two are the forms in which the oncofetal antigens come up. So what is this alpha fetoprotein? It is a molecular weight, it has around 70,000. It is a fetal albumin. It resembles in composition, the chemical composition is pretty similar with the adult albumin. Its normal level is less than 10 micrograms per liter, but more than 300 micrograms per liter or nanograms per liter is associated with cancer. So more than 300 nanograms per liter would actually cause cancer. Its level is elevated in hepatocellular carcinoma, pregnancy with fetal abnormality, germ cell tumor, and it is also elevated levels are seen during different diseases, guys. Hepatitis, cirrhosis, and pregnancy. So when there's elevated levels of these in these other disorders, it can also cause cancer. Remember that. And then carcinoembryonic antigen, another type of form of this fetus oncogen. So it consists of large family of cell surface glycoproteins. It is 1 to 300 kilodaltons. It is normally produced by the embryonic tissue of liver, pancreas, and gut. So it's elevated in various kinds of cancers: GIT cancer, colorectal cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer. These are the few kind of cancers which is actually detected at present, and in these types of cancers there are elevated levels of CEA, that is carcinoembryonic antigen. The next, tumor marker enzymes. First one is alkaline phosphate, commonly known as ALP. It is a primary or a secondary involvement of liver cancer, and its higher level can actually get it's actually involved in bone cancer, very rare disorder, bone cancer. And then gamma glutamyl transferase and a 5-nucleotidase are also used in diagnosis of liver cancer. So and we have there is another prostatic acid phosphatase. It is also elevated in prostate cancer. So depending on the organ, there are various kind of enzymes which are being used as tumor markers. And then hormones. There are various kind of hormones which are being used as biomarkers, but there are two conditions. There are two main conditions in which this kind of tumor markers can be used. The first one is high level of hormone is secreted by the endocrine tissues. The endocrine tissues secrete elevated levels of hormones where it is normally secreted. And the second condition is secreted by non-endocrine tissues where it is normally not secreted. So this is ectopic syndrome. So non-endocrine tissues actually do not secrete those kind of hormones, actually secrete them. That is an ectopic syndrome. It's an ectopic condition, and in this point of time these hormones can be used as tumor markers. So next, few examples: ACTH, calcitonin, ADH, epinephrine. Some of the examples of hormones which can be used in various sites and cancer target organs, and you could see the list below in your own slide. So yeah, next, tumor marker proteins. There are a few tumor marker proteins which are being used. Prostate specific antigen, used in diagnosis of prostate cancer, as the name suggests. Bence-Jones proteins. It's a plasma cell from B lymphocyte, proliferates and produces light chain immunoglobulin known as M protein. It is also known as paraprotein, used in multiple myeloma. So very crucial proteins which you need to
remember when you're actually reading about cancer biology or the tumor markers. The carbohydrate antigen, another type of tumor marker. It is a glycoprotein, molecular weight is around 10 billion, elevated in when the normal level is less than 35 micrograms per ml, but is elevated in ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, and GIT cancer. The tumor marker genes, which are generally used to use for the tumor, as a tumor marker, there are many oncogenes like RAS oncogene, c-Myc oncogene. So c-Myc oncogene is nothing but master regulator of cell cycle entry as proliferative metabolism. It's a master regulator, but it's a completely master regulator of cell cycle entry. So this oncogene is used as in diagnosing leukemia and lymphoma. RAS oncogene is used in sarcoma diagnosis. So there are a few kind of tumor marker genes which are being used very, very frequently for detection of various kind of sarcomas and lymphomas. So the next one, tumor suppressor genes. These tumor suppressor genes is a very common part in diagnosis, in prevention, in cause. You could see how important these genes are in cancer research. P53 is also used in diagnosis of breast cancer and colon cancer. Then breast cancer 1, breast cancer gene 1, breast cancer suppressor gene 2 is being used in diagnosis of breast cancer. And retinoblastoma gene, suppressor gene, is being used in diagnosis of retinoblastoma. So receptors, there are a few receptors like estrogen, progesterone receptors, very common receptors that are used as prognostic indicators and also used to decide which hormonal therapy you're going to use in the breast cancer. So in breast cancer treatment, you have various kind of hormonal therapies being used. So these receptors, which are namely estrogen and progesterone receptors, they help in making us decide which therapy is better. The elevated concentrations of these receptors will decide which therapy to be used. So I think you understood it. So it is very, very necessary that the hormonal treatment is used for the effective treatment. There are various assays which happen during the breast cancer using the receptors. So now, the final topic which we are going to discuss is the COVID-19 and cancer. Very, very important, as I actually previously said, that COVID-19 and cancer is a very, very important topic. It actually deals with the present topic. Let's talk about the present situation we are going around. You could see we are completely in a nationwide lockdown. The whole world is under the lockdown because of the COVID-19 infection. Just think, what is the situation of the cancer patients who are undergoing treatment in the hospital right now, at present when I am talking? You could see there are millions of people who are undergoing treatment for cancer. And there's a study here which is actually explaining and is proving that COVID-19 outbreak has caused serious effect on cancer patients, and the growth of tumor cells are growing in a wider scale post COVID-19 outbreak. So you could see how difficult the cancer patients situation is, and the cancer researchers and the doctors, the surgeons who are actually working on this, actually treating these cancer patients are undergoing a massive obstacles, and it's completely in a chaos. So it's very, very important and crucial that this part needs to be investigated and analyzed, and we hope that the COVID-19 infection goes down. So talking about the case study, it's as a new coronavirus continues to spread across the world, it has many experts trying to determine how it affects patients with cancer. So the patient population, it consisted of mostly men on a median age of 65 years old. Lung cancer was the most frequently seen diagnosis in 25% of patients, followed by esophageal and breast cancer. Another 35.7% of patients are in the stage 4 of the disease. So these are some of the studies, and now comes the actual point. The researchers learned that the 8 patients developed COVID-19 while undergoing therapy in the hospital, and 20 patients contracted the virus from their communities Most were from the Hong Kong city, and the starting point of the outbreak. Within the second week of COVID-19 diagnosis, 21.4% undergone chemotherapy, 7.1% undergone radiotherapy, 3.6% were undergoing immunotherapy, and one patient received chemotherapy and immunotherapy both to actually prevent this COVID-19 outbreak. So you could see in 90% of the patients, you could see hyperproteinemia, a condition where there's abnormally low level of proteins in blood, and there were many patients who were actually diagnosed with signs of anemia because of this. You could see the COVID-19 outbreak, and it actually led the cancer patients into a complete debacle and chaos. So now, patients with cancer are particularly susceptible to respiratory pathogens and severe pneumonia because they are at an immunosuppressive state due to malignancy and anti-tumor therapy. That's what the scientists and the doctors who were working there mentioned. So it was found that within the 14 days, anti-tumor therapies were significantly associated with occurrence of severe clinical events in COVID-19 infection. So it is recommended that there's a rapid, vigorous pool screening should happen for COVID-19 infection, and which could actually prevent this effect and cause immunosuppression and decreased in the case of COVID-19 co-infection. So this is co-infection, guys. So it's very, very important that I discuss this part under this cancer biology, because this is a new one and there's a lot of further studies which are going to go on in few years on this part of how this cancer can be associated with COVID-19. So we come to an end finally of this session, a lovely session. I really loved and I really enjoyed to explain all of you about the cancer biology, and I hope that we produce a lot more videos regarding various research and more interesting research topics. Do follow our Nerdy Scientists page, Insta page, and do subscribe to our channel if you actually like. You could see the name Nerdy Scientists. So we actually love to produce more effective and more interesting videos. Be safe, be healthy, and do productive things. Do share knowledge, because that's the most productive thing which you could do during this lockdown. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends. Please make them more knowledgeable. And yeah, thank you and take care. Bye.